Night folk, shadows of the swamp. The swamps of Lemoyne are unsettling at the best of times. Fog clings to the water, gators lurk under the surface, and the sound of insects and frogs create a constant hum of unease. But once the night folk arrive, the swamp transforms into something closer to a survival horror game than a western. They don't speak, they don't give warnings. They simply emerge from the shadows, gaunt and pale, with wide, expressionless eyes. They surround you silently, creeping just outside the range of your lantern light before rushing forward with chilling shrieks. Unlike normal enemies, they don't feel human. They feel like spirits, revenants of the swamp, attacking not for money or territory, but because you've dared to step into their cursed domain. The worst part is the buildup. You'll see a corpse strung up on a tree, its chest carved with strange symbols. You'll hear rustling in the reeds, see shapes moving through the fog. By the time the night folk actually rush you, your heart is already pounding. It's one of the few times in the game where you truly feel hunted, like prey in the dark. 2. The Aberdeen Pig Farmers, Cannibal Hospitality. At first glance, the Aberdeen siblings, Tammy and Bray, seem like eccentric but harmless hillbillies. Their little farm is run down but inviting. Tammy offers food, Bray pours drinks, and they welcome Arthur like a guest. But the longer you sit at their table, the more their behavior twists into something nightmarish. Their dialogue is sickeningly playful, loaded with innuendo and unsettling references to family traditions. The way Tammy stares at Arthur feels predatory, while Bray's laugh carries a mocking menace. If Arthur trusts them long enough, he's drugged, knocked unconscious, and robbed. When he awakens, he's lying in a muddy ditch like discarded trash, stripped of his money. It's the atmosphere that makes them terrifying. The entire sequence echoes stories of cannibal families and backwoods killers, something out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Their farmhouse becomes a horror set piece, and even if you survive their trick once, you'll never pass their property again without feeling a shiver of unease. Number 3. The Serial Killer, Messages in Blood. Scattered throughout the world are grisly crime scenes that feel ripped straight from a true crime horror story. Severed limbs nailed to rocks, blood smeared into cryptic writing, decapitated heads left as warnings. Each one feels like a challenge, an invitation to discover who's responsible. The trail eventually leads to the killer's lair, a cave dripping with gore, filled with dismembered body parts and grotesque trophies. The air feels suffocating, as though you've stepped into the stomach of a beast. When the killer finally attacks, his appearance is less frightening than the buildup, but the sheer atmosphere of dread makes this one of the darkest, most horrific encounters in the game. Unlike gangs or bounty hunters, this isn't about money or power. It's about cruelty. It's about evil for its own sake, and it makes you wonder how many other victims disappeared into the wilderness, never to be found. 4. The Strange Man, Death's Shadow in the Swamp. Few encounters in Red Dead Redemption 2 linger in your memory like the Strange Man's cabin. Tucked away in the swamp, the cabin seems ordinary until you step inside. A painting rests on the wall, unfinished at first, but each time you visit, it becomes clearer, eventually revealing the face of the Strange Man himself. Then there's the mirror. If Arthur stands in front of it, he doesn't see himself reflected normally. Instead, the Strange Man appears behind him, watching silently. No sound, no explanation, just the cold presence of something that shouldn't be there. The encounter is terrifying, not because of jump scares, but because of implication. The Strange Man is tied to John Marston's fate in the first game, his presence suggesting inevitability, that no matter what choices Arthur makes, destiny and death are already watching. The silence of that cabin is louder than any gunfight. Number 5. The Hermits, Madness in the Wilderness. The frontier is home, not just to bandits and gangs, but to people who have gone completely feral. The Hermits of RDR2 are some of the most disturbing characters you can meet. One hermit lives in the woods with a pack of wolves, treating them like his family. When you approach, he screeches incoherently and sends his wolves after you, his shrill voice carrying through the trees like the call of a madman. Another lives up north in a filthy shack, attacking intruders with crazed fury. His isolation has stripped him of humanity, leaving behind only paranoia and violence. The encounters are brief, but they stick with you. Unlike the gangs or lawmen, these hermits aren't motivated by greed or revenge. They've simply snapped, proof that the wilderness can drive men to madness. 6. The Ghost of Agnes Dowd, a haunting in the bayou. If the night folk make the swamp terrifying by force, Agnes Dowd makes it terrifying through sorrow. Her ghost can appear on foggy nights, a weeping young woman whose voice carries through the swamp. Sometimes she mourns her fate, other times she screams in anguish, her voice echoing like a curse. Seeing her apparition in the distance is enough to stop players in their tracks. She flickers in and out of existence, her pale figure barely visible in the mist, and then she's gone, leaving only silence. Unlike other encounters, Agnes isn't a threat. She can't hurt Arthur. But her presence is chilling because it suggests the land remembers pain. Her story, a young woman abandoned, humiliated, and driven to lingers like a wound carved into the earth itself. And stumbling across her makes you realize the world of RDR2 is haunted not just by outlaws, but by ghosts of tragedy. Number 7. The Murfree Brood, the inbred cannibals of Roanoke Ridge. If the swamps belong to the night folk, the forests of Roanoke Ridge belong to the Murfree Brood. They are perhaps the most terrifying human enemies in the game, a gang of inbred killers who live like animals, decorating their camps with bones, severed heads, and crude totems. They attack travelers with shrieks and insane laughter, their dialogue a mix of gibberish and threats. Their territory feels cursed, with corpses hanging from trees and cages filled with human remains. Every encounter with them feels like walking into a nightmare, as though you've stumbled into the lair of a cult that exists outside the laws of men. The Murfrees are terrifying because they're so primal. They don't care about money. They don't care about power. They kill and torture simply because they can. Riding into their territory at night, hearing their warped voices in the distance, is one of the most unsettling experiences in the game. Number 8. The Vampire of Saint Denis, Blood in the Alleyway. Saint Denis is the most modern city in the game, filled with lamps, carriages, and wealth. But hidden in its alleys is one of RDR2's most chilling secrets. After tracking a series of strange writings around the city, you eventually discover the truth. A vampire is stalking Saint Denis. Finding him is like stepping into another genre entirely. His pale face, sharp teeth, and glowing eyes look completely out of place in the grounded world of Arthur Morgan. When you encounter him feeding on a victim, he hisses and attacks with terrifying speed, whispering about blood and eternity. The fact that Rockstar hid something so supernatural in a game built on realism makes it unforgettable. It suggests that beneath the surface of the Wild West, stranger things exist, things Arthur and John can never fully understand.